Two cavemen live in the same hut, same street, same roof, same leaky view of the same swamp. One owns it, one rents it, and everyone in the tribe knows which one's the fool. The renter, obviously. He hands his shinies to a landlord every month and keeps nothing. The owner's building something, a cave of his own, real wealth, a pile that's his. That's the story we all grew up on. Rent is shinies set on fire. A mortgage is shinies you get back. So buy the second you can. Here's the problem. Run the actual math, not the feeling, the math. And the fool renting that hut can walk away richer than the owner next door. Sometimes by a lot. So let Og show you the real math of renting versus buying. And the exact moment renting wins. Start with the case for buying because it's strong and it's real. When you rent, the math is simple. The rent leaves, it's gone. Next month, it leaves again. 40 years of that, and you've handed a landlord hundreds of thousands of shinies. Nothing to hold for it. Meanwhile, he, some big caveman who owns the hut, gets a little fatter on your back every month. Buy instead, and every payment chips at something you keep. Miss the wave and prices climb out of reach. Lock in a payment now, and 20 years on, while renters are still getting squeezed every spring, yours hasn't moved. At the end, you own the whole cave outright. You can hand it to your cubs. That's forced savings. Most cavemen never build wealth on purpose. The mortgage does it for them, brick by brick, disciplined or not. None of that is wrong. For millions of people, buying built the only real pile of shinies they ever had. But watch what the story quietly leaves out. The trick in that bedtime story is the comparison. It lines your whole rent up against your whole mortgage payment. And rent always looks like the loser. But your mortgage payment isn't all savings. Most of it early on is gone exactly like rent. Here's the part nobody shows you. Buy a typical home today. Around 430,000 shinies, a normal down payment. Today's rate near 6.5%. Your first year of payments is roughly 85% interest. Interest isn't savings, it's rent. It's rent you pay the bank for borrowing, instead of rent you pay a landlord for living. On that home, that's about 22,000 shinies in year one you never see again. The part that actually becomes yours, the principal, is the thin slice left over. And interest is just the opening. The roof leaks, you pay. Property taxes, about 1% of the home's value every year, forever. Maintenance, call it another 1% a year, vanishing into a water heater nobody admires. There's a name for all of it. Finance people call them unrecoverable costs. Shinies you spend with nothing left to hold. Rent is 100% unrecoverable. True. But so is a huge chunk of owning. One portfolio manager turned it into a rule of thumb. Add up owning's unrecoverable costs, property tax, upkeep, and the cost of your tied-up shinies. All in, they run about 5% of the home's value a year. And the man who built it will tell you that's generous. The upkeep slice alone runs closer to 2% than 1. So take the price, take 5%, divide by 12. That's your real monthly break-even. On a 430,000 shiny home, that's about 1,790 shinies a month. Gone. Before a single shiny turns into savings. If you can rent the same place for less than that, renting is the cheaper way to live in it. But here's the catch with that tidy 5%. It was built when borrowing was cheap, back when mortgages ran near 3%. At today's 6.5%, the cost of your tied-up shinies is more than double that. The real rule today is closer to 8 or 9%. On that same 430,000 shiny home, your true break-even isn't 1,790 a month. It's north of 2,800. And in most of the country, renting the exact same house costs less than that. Which is why, right now, the math leans toward renting in more places than it has in years. 2 more leaks, and these are the big ones. First, just getting in and out takes a bite most people never count. Selling alone runs about 9% of the price. Commissions, fees, the lot. Add what you paid to buy, and a round trip easily costs 1/10 of the home's value. That's handed to other people for the privilege of owning it a while. Sell too soon, and it swallows years of any gain. Which is why buying rarely pays unless you stay put. Think 7 years and up. Second, the quiet one, your down payment. On that home, it's around 86,000 shinies locked inside the walls. Locked shinies don't grow much. Home prices have climbed about 4 to 5% a year over the long run. Decent, not thrilling. That same 86,000 in a plain index fund, the basket that owns the whole market, has historically grown closer to 10% a year. That gap between the cave that crawls and the fire that compounds is the real price of owning, and almost nobody puts it on the ledger. So renting wins. Case closed. Sell the hut. No, that's the other half of the trap. The half every rent versus buy fight on the internet skips. The math only swings to renting if two things are true. One, you actually invest the difference. If renting is cheaper and you blow the gap on nicer huts and shinier clubs, you didn't beat buying. You just spent it. The owner's forced savings quietly wins because at least the mortgage made him save. Renting only beats buying for the caveman who rents cheap and feeds the difference to the fire. Be honest about whether that's you. Almost nobody does it. 2. Where you live. In expensive coastal jungles, rent sits far below that break-even. Renting wins easily. In cheaper inland towns, a mortgage can land under local rent, and buying wins clean. Same country, opposite answer, one street to the next. Then there's the stuff math can't price. Own, and no landlord throws you out. No rent hike every spring. A yard for the cubs, a wall you're allowed to paint. If you'll stay a decade and you want roots, buy, and don't apologize for it. So the honest answer isn't renting is smart or buying is smart. It depends on how long you'll stay and what your town charges to rent versus buy, and whether you've got the spine to invest in the difference instead of spending it. So here's the verdict, stripped of the bedtime story. The story is wrong, but neither side wins by default. Renting isn't shinies in a fire, and a mortgage isn't automatic wealth. The honest answer is a number, and you can run it in 30 seconds. Take your rent. Take 5% of the place you'd buy, divide by 12. If your rent lands below that line, renting already wins. And at today's rates, it wins well above it. Then, if you do buy, stay 7 years or don't bother. Two cavemen, same hut. The one who walks away richer isn't the owner or the renter by default. It's the one who ran that number first. And more often than people think, it tells him to rent. So if Og just talked you out of the biggest purchase of your life on a hunch, join the tribe. The fire's warmer over on this side,